The idea of mysticism in the Western culture finds its roots, as much of the culture itself, in ancient Greece. 500 years before Christ, Pythagoras taught about the concept of mysticism. The same idea was taught on a different continent at the same time by Buddha. The idea of mysticism was carried on by such thinkers as Plotinus or later on Master Eckhart. The idea of mysticism contains one basic concept. That concept is indivisibility of the universe. The world is one. The world is interconnected. The world, I can't go through this net of the spider, this web, spider web. So, the world is all interconnected. The world is like this spider web. Let's focus on the spider web here. The world is like the spider web. In the Eastern tradition, the idea of the world being interconnected, by the way, www, World Wide Web. The idea of being interconnected is known as the diamond net of Indra. The diamond net of Indra is a net, like the web of the spider, which contains many diamonds. The diamonds are representative of each being. The diamonds reflect the light, but they also reflect each other, one another. The beauty of the Indra's net depends on all the creatures, not just a single creature, but all the creatures. The shining beauty of the world, of the universe, comes from the interconnectedness and comes from the beauty of all the beings in the world. All the beings in the world are but one existence. The main idea of mysticism is the concept of oneness of the world. The world is one. It is interconnected. Is it possible to accept this point of view from the scientific standpoint? Well, modern physics, the subatomic physics, tell us that the world is all made of energy only. Matter is energy. Of course, the famous equation of Einstein, E equals mc squared, tells us that energy is matter, but vice versa, matter is energy. So, when we look at the atoms, we see that they are made of empty space. The atoms are like the football fields. The football field is empty, and inside that football field there is a small pebble running in circle, the electron, for example. This pebble, by its nature, cannot fulfill the empty space. Just like, for example, when you take a fan, a rotary fan, and move it quickly, it looks like one mass, one matter. But in the case of atoms, the atoms are so small, the particles are so small, they cannot create the impression of a wall. Nonetheless, the wall exists. Turns out that there is nothing solid. There is no basic substance except for the movement itself. What is the movement itself? What does it mean? Where does it come from? What is the movement? Well, the mystics believe that the movement is simply consciousness. Consciousness is the perception. The universe is moving, the universe exists, the universe lives because the universe is perception. In another metaphor, we can say the universe is a mind of God. God is the universe, and the universe is his body. But really, truly, the universe is not a body, because the universe is immaterial. The universe is pure energy. So God is the creator of the universe, and the universe is just a dream, or it is a mental state. A mental state. The universe is a mental state. This idea has many implications. For the mystics, of course, it means that we can connect to God. We can access God's mind, or God's heart, if you will. We can access God. Why do we want to access God? Because we want to know what to do. Of course, when we are a part of God's consciousness, we are like a finger in the hand. But the whole body is the body of the universe, is God. The finger doesn't necessarily know what to do. What does it mean if we can access God's mind or God's heart directly? It means that we don't need any temples. We don't need any churches. We don't need any mosques or synagogues. All the religions, they of course lead us to the same source. We may use them as a means of transportation. We may, through Christianity and following the Bible, or through Hinduism, or through Buddhism, enter the mind that will lead us to liberation. Again, this is a symbolic speech, but it means basically that we can connect with the world. What does this connection what does it possibly imply? What does it possibly mean? It means that we realize that we are not alone. It means that when we connect with the universe as the source of all life, with God as the source of all life, we understand that there is no separation, there is no difference between that creature and this creature. So, therefore, we become, of course, very different in our state of mind. We become very different in our state of heart. Our heart opens up. And that is what Christianity leads us to do. That is what Buddhism teaches us to do. Buddha and many people who follow Buddha, they suggest, they tell us to open our hearts to the extent to which we become bodhisattvas. And bodhisattva, the follower of Buddha, the incarnation of Buddha, promises not to seek liberation for himself until all beings around him or her, including the last blade of grass, become liberated. So, in other words, the compassion of Bodhisattva is immeasurable. The compassion of Bodhisattva fulfills the whole world of creations and encompasses the whole world of creations. And the same thing can be said about the compassion of the follower of Christ. Of course, Jesus talked about extending the other cheek. When they strike you in your cheek, extend the other cheek. But more than that, forgive everyone, for they don't know what they are doing. But more than that, love everyone as if everyone was a part of you. Love everyone as if he or she, the other person, was you. So the concept of recognizing myself in the other is very prevalent in the Christian teachings. Jesus and then the followers of Jesus, for example, Saint Francis of Assisi, teach us absolute compassion. Compassion to the extent to which we feel mercy and we feel sorrow for all of the creation. All of the creation, including the most simple forms of life. Of course, Saint Francis of Assisi even not only cared for animals, but even cared for, of course, flowers, and of course all the plants, and not necessarily only walking creatures, but also stationary creatures, so-called. They are, of course, moving, but they are stationary, supposedly, and including the icicles. He was concerned about the icicles, concerned about the fire. He was calling fire his brother fire. So Saint Francis of Assisi was a great mystic, of course. He recognized compassion, he recognized unity of all beings, and he had compassion for all creatures, including those that we would not think of as creatures at all. So the compassion of Saint Francis of Assisi. And in the Orthodox Church there is another saint. His name is Saint Isaac the Syrian. Saint Isaac the Syrian. He is a famous saint in the Orthodox Church, and he talked about the compassionate heart, or the compassionate man, has love for all the creation, including the reptiles. For him, reptiles were somehow at the bottom of the whole chain of evolution. And also the demons. Of course, the demons were at the very bottom. So the reptiles and the demons deserved compassion from a compassionate person. A compassionate person would have love for these creatures as well. It means everything in this world deserves our love, because we are all interconnected. When we recognize that we are but a finger in the hand of the universe, what do we do? First of all, we do to others as we would do to ourselves, so the Christian teaching. But secondly, we also don't feel lonely. We never feel lonely, because all the creation is around us, is a part of us. Thirdly, we don't have to feel jealous, because everything that happens around us is something that happens to us. So when we see someone happy, we can imagine, we can understand, we can see, not imagine. This is not just some imaginary pacifying theory that makes you feel better. This is an understanding that we can be happy from the happiness of others. When we see others happy, we can weep with joy. So we try to make everyone happy, and we try to be as compassionate as we possibly can towards everybody. And of course, we want to prevent any kind of destruction, any kind of animosity, any kind of aggression inside, within this universe, because we know that our own hand can strike our own face. But what's the meaning of it? So when we see all that, and when we understand the mystical teachings in its essence, we become, of course, vegetarian, but secondarily, we become the people who are involved in changing the world into a better place. We want to do something for this world, because this world is me. This world is you.